We are told that the Battle of Waterloo was won by the Duke of Wellington as military genius, and the timely arrival of Prussian reinforcements. We are told it was a clash of armies that determined the fate of Europe and ended Napoleon's empire forever. But this is the version of history written for school. It ignores the most important battle that was fought that day, the battle for information, and it ignores the man who won that battle more decisively than any general. If you want to understand how the modern financial system really works, how information asymmetry can create instant fortunes, and how the first insider trading scandal changed the world, you have to look past the battlefield. You have to look at the London Stock Exchange on June 20th, 1815. The Battle of Waterloo wasn't just won by Wellington's cannons. It was won by Nathan Rothschild's courier pigeons. This is a story of how information became more valuable than armies, and how one family turned news into the ultimate financial weapon. The intelligence network. To understand this financial coup, we must first understand the man behind it, Nathan Meyer Rothschild, the third son of Meyer Amsiel Rothschild, a Jewish banker from Frankfurt. Nathan had been sent to London in 1798, at age 21, to establish the family's British operations. By 1815, he was already one of the wealthiest men in England, but what he accomplished during the Waterloo crisis would make him legendary. The Rothschild family understood something that governments and other financiers had missed. In an age without telegraph or railways, information traveled at the speed of horses and ships. The family or institution that could move information faster than anyone else would have an insurmountable advantage in financial markets. Nathan Rothschild had spent years building what was essentially the world's first private intelligence network. He employed a web of agents, couriers, and informants across Europe who fed him information about political developments, military movements, and economic conditions. But most importantly, he had developed the fastest communication system on the continent. The Rothschild courier network was a marvel of early 19th century logistics. The family used relays of fast horses, specially designed boats, and even carrier pigeons to move information across Europe faster than any government or competitor. Their couriers were paid enormous bonuses for speed and carried coded messages that were indecipherable to anyone who intercepted them. But the real genius of the system was its redundancy. The Rothschilds didn't just send one courier with important news. They sent multiple couriers using different routes to ensure that vital information would reach its destination, even if individual messengers were delayed or captured. By 1815, this network was so sophisticated that Nathan Rothschild often received news of European events before the British government did. Cabinet ministers would sometimes visit his office on New Court to learn what was happening on the continent before their own diplomatic dispatches arrived. Think about the implications of this information advantage. In financial markets, being first with accurate news is more valuable than being right about long-term trends. A trader who knows the outcome of a battle 2 days before anyone else can make more profit in those 2 days than most people make in a lifetime. The Waterloo Stakes. The Battle of Waterloo represented the ultimate test of the Rothschild information system. The outcome would determine not just the fate of Napoleon, but the future of European politics and economics for decades to come. More immediately, it would determine the value of British government bonds, which were the foundation of Nathan Rothschild's trading strategy. In the months leading up to Waterloo, British government bonds called consols had been extremely volatile. When Napoleon escaped from Elba and began his 100 Days campaign, bond prices collapsed as investors feared a French victory would make British debt worthless. When news arrived of Allied military preparations, prices would recover. Every rumor of battle outcomes sent the market swinging wildly. Nathan Rothschild had positioned himself as one of the largest holders of British government debt in Europe. If Britain won at Waterloo, his bonds would soar in value. If Napoleon won, they would become worthless paper. Everything depended on getting accurate information about the battle outcome before anyone else. On June 18, 1815, as Wellington and Napoleon faced each other across the Belgian countryside, Nathan Rothschild was in London, waiting. He had positioned his fastest couriers at strategic points between the battlefield and the English Channel. His boats were ready at Ostend and other channel ports. His entire fortune hung in the balance. The Battle of Waterloo began at 11:30 a.m. and raged throughout the day. It was one of the closest fought battles in European history, with the outcome uncertain until the final Prussian charge broke Napoleon's Imperial Guard. By 8 p.m., Napoleon was in full retreat, and Wellington was master of the field. But while the armies were still counting their dead, the real battle for financial advantage had already begun. The information race. The moment the Battle of Waterloo ended, multiple courier systems sprang into action. The British government needed to inform London of the victory as quickly as possible. Rival banking houses wanted the news to gain trading advantages. Newspaper correspondents hoped to scoop their competitors with first reports of the outcome. But Nathan Rothschild's network was faster than all of them. His courier, a man named Rothworth, was among the first to leave the battlefield. He rode hard through the night to Ostend, where a Rothschild boat was waiting to carry him across the English Channel. Despite rough seas that delayed other crossing attempts, Rothworth reached the English coast by dawn on June 19th. From the coast, Rothworth used the Rothschild relay system to speed toward London, changing horses at prepositioned stations and racing through the English countryside. He reached Nathan Rothschild's office on New Court in the early hours of June 20th, a full day before official government dispatches would arrive in London. Think about what this meant. For nearly 24 hours, Nathan Rothschild was the only person in London who knew with certainty that Wellington had won the Battle of Waterloo. He knew that British government bonds, which had been trading at depressed levels due to war uncertainty, were about to soar in value. He had exclusive access to information that would make him one of the richest men in the world. But Nathan Rothschild was too sophisticated to simply buy bonds immediately. Such obvious purchasing would signal to the market that he had special information, driving prices up before he could accumulate a large position. Instead, he devised a strategy that would become legendary in financial circles. He would manipulate the market through deception before revealing the truth. On the morning of June 20th, Nathan Rothschild appeared at his usual position on the London Stock Exchange, leaning against Rothschild's pillar where he conducted his daily trading. But instead of buying bonds, he began selling them in large quantities, and he made sure that other traders noticed his somber expression and worried demeanor. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Other traders knew that Rothschild had the best information network in Europe. If he was selling British bonds and looked concerned, it could only mean one thing: Wellington had lost at Waterloo. Panic selling began as other investors rushed to dump their British government securities. The market manipulation. What followed was one of the most audacious market manipulations in financial history, as Nathan Rothschild continued to sell bonds publicly while maintaining a gloomy expression. He simultaneously had his agents buying bonds secretly at the rapidly falling prices. He was creating artificial panic to drive down prices so he could accumulate bonds at deep discounts. The psychology of the manipulation was brilliant. Rothschild exploited other traders' respect for his information network to create exactly the opposite impression of reality. Because everyone knew he had superior intelligence, his selling convinced them that defeat was certain, even though victory was assured. As bond prices collapsed through June 20th, Nathan Rothschild's secret buying operation accelerated. He was purchasing British government debt at prices that reflected a French victory while knowing that a British victory was certain. With each hour that passed before the official news arrived, he accumulated more bonds at increasingly attractive prices. The magnitude of his purchasing was staggering. By some accounts, Rothschild bought bonds worth millions of pounds during this single day of trading, equivalent to hundreds of millions of dollars in today's money. He was essentially buying the British government's debt at panic prices, while possessing exclusive knowledge that the panic was unjustified. But the most remarkable aspect of the operation was its timing precision. Rothschild had to complete his accumulation before the official news of Wellington's victory reached London and sent bond prices soaring. He needed to balance maximizing his purchases with avoiding suspicion that might alert competitors to his strategy. Late on June 20th, official government couriers finally reached London with confirmation of Wellington's victory. The news spread rapidly through the city, and bond prices began to rise sharply as investors realized that British government debt was secure. But by then, Nathan Rothschild had already completed his accumulation. When the market opened on June 21st, British government bonds were trading at prices reflecting the victory at Waterloo. Nathan Rothschild now owned an enormous position purchased at defeat prices, but worth victory valuations. His paper profits were astronomical. The financial conquest, the scale of Nathan Rothschild's profit from the Waterloo operation, has been debated by historians. But even conservative estimates suggest he made several million pounds in a single day, equivalent to hundreds of millions of dollars today. More importantly, the operation established the Rothschild family as the dominant force in European finance for the next century. But the true significance goes beyond the immediate profits. Nathan Rothschild had demonstrated that information could be weaponized more effectively than armies. He had shown that whoever controlled the flow of news could control financial markets, and through them, the fate of nations. The Waterloo coup gave the Rothschilds family unprecedented financial resources at a crucial moment in European history. The post-Napoleonic period required massive capital for reconstruction, railway building, and government financing. The Rothschilds, flush with Waterloo profits, were positioned to participate in and profit from all of these opportunities. Within 5 years of Waterloo, the Rothschild banks had become the primary financiers of European government debt. They developed a monopoly on bond issuance that allowed them to charge enormous fees while controlling the borrowing costs of entire nations. They had transformed information advantage into structural market dominance. The family's wealth grew so rapidly that by 1825, Nathan Rothschild was worth more than many small countries. The phrase, "the man who owns the Bank of England," was commonly used to describe him, though it was the Bank of England that increasingly depended on Rothschild financing rather than the reverse. More subtly, the Rothschilds had established the template for modern financial markets. Success depended not on producing goods or services, but on processing information faster than competitors. They had created the first truly global financial network based on information, asymmetry, and market manipulation. The psychological impact of the Waterloo operation was as important as the financial results. Other traders and investors had witnessed Nathan Rothschild's ability to manipulate markets through superior information. This demonstration of power created a mystique around the Rothschild name that would persist for generations. European governments began to court Rothschild's favor because they understood that the family's information network could make or break their bond issues. Military commanders sought Rothschild intelligence because it was often more accurate than their own reconnaissance. This influence extended beyond financial markets into politics. The Rothschilds used their information advantages to anticipate political developments and position themselves advantageously. They financed railway construction in countries where they expected stability. The network effects of their information system created compounding advantages. Each successful prediction enhanced their reputation and attracted more informants. Each profitable trade provided more capital to invest in better intelligence gathering. The intelligence revolution. The Rothschild success at Waterloo sparked an arms race in financial information systems. Other banking houses began developing their own courier networks, telegraph systems, and intelligence operations. The competition to process information faster became as intense as any military conflict. This information revolution transformed the nature of finance itself. Banking evolved from a business of holding and lending money into a business of processing data. The banks, with the fastest, most accurate information networks, gained decisive advantages over competitors who relied on traditional methods. The Rothschilds maintained their lead through continuous investment in communication technology. They were among the first to use telegraph systems in the 1840s. They established permanent correspondence in major financial centers. They developed sophisticated coded communication systems. But the most important innovation was systematic intelligence gathering. The Rothschilds didn't just collect financial news. They collected political intelligence, military information, and economic data. They understood that everything was connected and that superior analysis could generate profits. This holistic approach became the foundation of modern financial analysis. The Rothschilds employed economists before the profession existed, statisticians before statistics were widely understood, and political analysts before political science was recognized. Their intelligence network extended into every level of European society. They had informants in royal courts who reported on policy intentions. They had agents in military headquarters who provided early warning of troop movements. They had correspondents in merchant houses who reported on trade flows. The family also pioneered the use of market psychology in trading strategies. They understood that markets were driven by human emotions as much as by objective financial factors. The Waterloo manipulation had demonstrated that creating the right impression could be more valuable than possessing the best information. Today, investment banks employ armies of researchers and data scientists who perform essentially the same function that Nathan Rothschild's courier network performed in 1815. Converting information advantages into financial profits. The tools have evolved from carrier pigeons to artificial intelligence. The modern parallel, the Rothschild-Waterloo strategy, established principles that remain central to modern financial markets. High-frequency trading firms use computer algorithms to process information microseconds faster than human traders. Investment banks pay enormous sums for early access to economic data. Technology companies invest billions in communication infrastructure that provides speed advantages. The fundamental insight remains unchanged. In financial markets, information is the ultimate weapon. The institution that can process relevant data faster and more accurately than competitors will generate superior returns regardless of other factors. Consider how modern markets react to Federal Reserve announcements or corporate earnings releases. Prices move within seconds as algorithms process information and execute trades faster than humans can read the reports. The Rothschild courier network has been replaced by fiber optic cables, but the principle is identical. The regulatory response to information advantages has evolved significantly. Modern securities laws prohibit insider trading and require disclosure of material information to prevent the kind of manipulation that Nathan Rothschild executed at Waterloo. But sophisticated institutions continue to seek legal information advantages through better research, faster communication, and superior analysis. The Rothschild legacy is visible in every aspect of contemporary finance. Investment banks maintain global networks of analysts. Hedge funds invest heavily in alternative data sources that might provide trading edges. Technology companies compete to build the fastest communication networks between financial centers. The Battle of Waterloo ended Napoleon's empire and reshaped Europe. But the information battle fought simultaneously in London's financial markets was equally consequential. It established the template for modern capitalism. Whoever controls information controls wealth, and whoever controls wealth controls power. Nathan Rothschild understood this principle better than anyone of his era. His Waterloo coup was not just a brilliant trading strategy, it was the birth certificate of information age The carrier pigeons that brought him news of Wellington's victory were the direct ancestors of today's fiber optic networks. I'm John, and this is the Cinematic History Tales channel. Subscribe now to stay ahead of the curve, because when the history books are written, you'll want to be among the few who saw it coming. The next information evolution is already beginning, and understanding how intelligence becomes wealth will help you recognize the patterns before they become obvious to everyone else.